Hey there, and welcome to Calculus this summer 2025 at Cal Poly Humboldt. I'm Dr. Tyler Evans, and in this short video, I'm just going to give you a little tour of our course Canvas page and try to hit some of the highlights of the course structure that are described in the course syllabus. You can see that the course syllabus is linked here in a couple places on this front page. This is the landing page. When you click on Math 109 in your Canvas page, once you've registered, you'll have access to this. And the syllabus contains all of this information. You want to give it a quick read, but I thought I would try to make, a short, I'll try to keep it around 10 minutes long video where I kind of walk you through some of the highlights. So here's how I've got the page kind of structured in Canvas. If you've used Canvas before, you're familiar with this navigation bar on the left-hand side. So each one of these things is a link. You can look at syllabus. If I make class announcements, that's where they're listed. I'll tell you a little bit about what modules are, your assignments. There's a discussion board. You can always look at your grade. You can look at other people in the course if you want to write them messages on Canvas. Later, towards the end of the course, you'll fill out your course evaluation here. So that's the navigation menu on the left-hand side. There's also a calendar that you can look at where your assignments will populate. And then down the middle here, I've kind of just tried to keep this thing sort of simple. So you're already watching this course video, so you probably already clicked on the course instruction videos. If you're new to Canvas, there's a nice student guide you can check out there to orient yourself on how to use it. And then basically down the middle here, I've got links to the kind of day-to-day flow of the course. We'll look at this in a second, is the learning objectives and the lecture videos. So that's kind of what's going to substitute for the lecture part in this online asynchronous class. I've got a direct link to the section assignments. Those are the assignments that you're going to be turning in for your grade. And when we look at the syllabus, you'll see it's the vast majority of your grade. There's a place that you can click on if you want to make an appointment with me to meet on Zoom for office hours. We can kind of check out the details of that. There's some information in the syllabus about the optional text for the course, but there's also a page here where I describe that information. And then I've got a link to some kind of handy tools, note-taking software, the Desmos graphing calculator I'll use quite a little bit. And then if you need to brush up, some external resources. So I'll let you visit these things, but there are links to mainly Khan Academy videos on pre-calculus material, trigonometry, algebra. If you see anything out there that you think is really great, that helped you, please shoot me an email and give me a link, and I'd love to see this thing grow. It's kind of where these resources come from, is they were suggested to me by students like, hey, when I was taking your calculus and I needed to brush up on my right triangle trigonometry, I found this page and it really helped me, and then I add it to those links, and it helps other people. Okay, so we'll kind of check out each one of these sections. Before we do, well, actually, let's look at them now. Let's look at them now, and then we'll look at the course syllabus. Okay, so these learning objectives and video lectures, that's the day-to-day flow of the course, and then the assignments that you turn in. If you click on those things, they'll take you directly there. Alternatively, over here, both of those are what are called modules. If I click on this module thing, here you'll see, if you click that learning objective link on the front page, you'll be taken to these learning objective video lectures. It'll be open. Okay, so we'll check out what I mean. If you clicked on assignments, you'd be taken directly to this section assignment module. It would be open. So you can see there's going to be 10 section assignments together with a couple of little ones, formatting quiz and preliminary review. So let's look at the learning objectives ones first. So if I go back home, you don't have to do this. I just want to illustrate you can get there this way. If I click learning objectives, video lectures, this is the kind of day-to-day structure of the course. So I've got them organized by week. There's 5 weeks in our course. We're meeting June 2nd to July 3rd. And in each one of those weeks, I've got a topic, several topics actually. The first one is tangent and velocity problems. And then because I'm using 2 optional texts, there's kind of 2 numbering systems. I hope you won't be annoyed by it, but the sections that are on the left here are from the Stewart text. You don't really need to pay attention to that so much because the video lectures are self-contained. But if you're looking at either one of these texts, you can read about this material in 2.1 in Stewart. In the OpenStax text, it's also section 2.1. In many, many cases, these section numbers are exactly the same, just not in all cases. So I've got the topic, tangent and velocity problems, as the first one. If you click on this learning objectives thing, it takes you to a page and it's basically like, well, what am I supposed to get out of this topic? right? So I should be able to understand limits as they pertain to slopes of tangent lines and instantaneous velocities, and I should be able to make a table of values to estimate one. Okay, so it's like a checklist. And then you can navigate. You can go back to the table, or you can just navigate with these buttons here. Next, there's a lecture video. Okay, every topic has a lecture video. Some topics have many. They vary in length from, I think the longest ones are maybe 40, 45 minutes. I don't know. You don't have to watch them all in one go. Shorter ones are probably in the neighborhood of 20 minutes. But these are all just linked to videos on YouTube. I made every one of these videos. I mean, in terms of like flashy Hollywood style, they're not the greatest videos in the world, but I think the mathematical content of them and the examples I do in them, they are good videos. So this is kind of the heart of the course, watching these videos, looking at the examples I do in them, and then practice some problems. In every one of these topics, I've got problems listed. These are all from the Stewart book, right? So if you don't have the Stewart book, you won't have access to these things. You can get a hold of me. There are very low cost ways of getting the Stewart book online. It has excellent problems. You can also go to the corresponding section in this OpenStax tech. It won't be the exact numbers there, but you could basically pick. The basic idea is, these tier one problems, they're the first few. So if you're using the OpenStax text, go to the tangent and velocity problems section 2.1 in that book, go to the exercises, try a first few of the problems. If you can do those, then you've mastered the section. If you go a little bit deeper into the section, then you can sort of deepen. If you go towards the end, all math books are organized this way. Pick a problem at the end if you really want to kind of challenge yourself. So I've selected these from Stewart. You can select them on your own, or you can come to my office hours and I'll select some, suggest some from you for OpenStax. Okay, so that's kind of the way it works. You click next, you go to the next topic. Learning objectives are the get an intuitive definition of limit, estimate it with tables and values, one-sided limits, and so on. Then lecture video. I think this one has more than one because I'm demonstrating how to use different softwares, Desmos, Google Sheets, and so on to estimate the values of limits, one-sided limits, and then suggested problems. All right, so that's kind of the day-to-day flow. If I go back here, you can kind of scroll down this thing with me. Each week, there's topics. We move through the topics very quickly in this summer school class. Each one of those topics has a learning objective, video lectures to watch, problems to try. None of those problems are being turned into me. That's your way to practice this material. You're not submitting that. These textbook homework problems, either from OpenStax or Stewart, you're not submitting those to me for a grade. You're doing them to practice. All right. So you can go through the whole course this way. It's all organized. That's still all week one, believe it or not. So check it out. In week one, we're doing 8 sections out of the Stewart text. Very, very quick pace. Then we go on to week two, so on, same kind of drill. So if I close this, just so I can scroll a little bit faster, you might be wondering like, well, what am I turning in for credit? Well, that's the section assignments. So there's going to be, well, there's a formatting quiz that you'll look at to kind of see how to use the system that you answer the questions. It's all self-contained. The questions are there. You enter the answers in the system. You just click to it. It's not open yet, so I can't, well, if I turn off the student view here for a second, then I can show you. So when you click on one of these, say, formatting quizzes, it's basically going to bring you to a page like this, and then you can start the thing. So it's going to have questions. They're all written there. You answer in these boxes. This formatting quiz is to basically teach you how to use the system. Okay, and then when you're doing these assignments, there's going to be 10 of them as we move through. I use the Stewart section numbers to kind of help you keep track of what kind of material is. So when you're looking back at those videos, and each one of them has a due date. So this will all show up on your calendar or on your to-do page on the front page. And then there's also this preliminary assignment that I'm going to be leaving open the entire course because it's kind of background material. So you don't have to work on the whole thing all at once. If you want to kind of check out what it looks like, we could take a peek. So it's problems about, writing things in rational exponents, expanding binomials, factoring polynomials. So these are kind of the algebraic things that you need to be non-rusty at to do the kind of calculations that we're going to do in the calculus class. So this Chapter one preliminary quiz is open the entire term. The rest of these section assignments you can kind of see, like the first three or first two, pardon me, are due on June 8th. That's the Sunday of week one. And then there's some due on June 15th. That's the Sunday of week two. June 22nd is the Sunday of week three. And then July 2nd is the day before the final exam. So instead of having it on the Sunday of week four, I pushed it out to the Wednesday of week four, the day before our final exam. But you need to pace these things. It's an awful lot of work, these 10 assignments. And then the final exam itself will be on July 3rd. I'll talk a little bit about it when we look at the syllabus. Okay, so I'm kind of talking fast here and I'm giving you lots of information, but again, the kind of structure of the home page here in our Canvas page is you've got the day-to-day grind and the learning objectives. It's where the video lectures are. And then there's section assignments. And there's like 2 or 3 of them per week every week. And that's where you're going to be doing the work. The video lectures are also, they also can, like after them, there are suggested problems to do out of these texts. All right. Here, real quick, before we look at the syllabus, if you want to meet with me on office hours, you go to this link, Zoom meeting instructions. There's a link to a calendar here. If you click it, you can book an appointment with me just by clicking one of these squares. The Zoom link is up here in the top. But if you don't remember that, the Zoom link is also listed here on the Canvas page. So if you want to meet with me, you'd go to this calendar page. You select the date. Here I'm talking to you making this video in May. You click this time to book the appointment. I'm going to start by having things between 10 a.m. and noon here in California time. If you need to meet me outside of that, we can work something out. But you book an appointment here on this calendar page. The Zoom link is right here, and then we can meet on Zoom and talk about calculus. I hope you will come to those Zoom office hours. All right. I'll do this on the syllabus, but there's some information about the two texts. So one of them is an online OpenStax text. The link is right here. You don't need to do anything else, just access it. The other one is the Stewart text I was talking about. It's not an online text and it's not free, but there are very low cost options. So just write me an email or come to an office hour and I can point you to some it's an excellent text. I really like the problems in it, which is why I suggest some out of those things. But neither one of these things are mandatory in the sense that the videos and the My Open Math online problems are self-contained in the course. All right. But these are both excellent texts. We use the OpenStax text here during the regular semesters at Cal Poly Humboldt. So if you're going to be taking Calc 2 or 3, then you'll be using that same text in those courses. All right. I'll let you check out the technical tools page and external resources. This video is getting a little long, so let's just take a real quick walk through the syllabus. I've been trying to kind of highlight some of the material in it, but let me just show you where it is here so you can read over it more carefully. Top of the syllabus is just how to get a hold of me. Email is the best way to get a hold of me in the summer. I do get voicemail messages, but they're kind of relayed through an online system that's a little slower. So email is definitely a good way. You can also message me in Canvas, but it's better to just write me a direct email. I'll get it in Canvas, but it's just a little bit slower. Our course we've already mentioned is online from June 2 to July 3. I've already talked about how to set up office hour appointments with me. The prerequisites for the course are a college algebra and trigonometry. So here at Cal Poly Humboldt, that would be 101 and 101T, or we have a combo course, Math 102. But I'm basically assuming that you're familiar with polynomial and rational functions, exponential and logarithmic functions, trigonometric functions, their properties, their graphs. Like I said, there's some resources there. If you feel like that stuff's a little bit rusty, you can always go back and refresh your memory about that stuff. But those are the kind of preliminary materials that I'm assuming you're familiar with as we start. It's a fully online asynchronous 5-week course. Moves very, very quickly. We're squeezing a 15-week course into 5 weeks. That 15-week course would have 4 meeting hours a week. That's 60 hours, right? So if you do 60 hours of meeting time down into 5 weeks, that's 6 hours a week of meeting time. So you should be planning at least an hour a day for 6 days a week to kind of correspond to the meeting time. And then, you have to kind of double that for the time to work on assignments. So all total, you're working 3, maybe 4 hours a day, 6 days a week to stay on pace in this course. So it's very, very brisk. So that's kind of the downside. The upside is that by July 3rd, we're done. All right. I've already talked about where the lecture videos are and how they work for each topic. I've talked about the 2 optional texts and where to find them, the textbook information page. What are required devices? Well, this is an online course, so you need a computer, stable internet connection. If you're going to talk to me on Zoom, that computer needs to have the Zoom app. You need to be able to access the My Open Math to do your homework, download any PDF files. So I've got some useful tools here on this technical tools page if you want to check them out. Um, Calculators and software, there's no calculator requirement. I extensively use the Desmos graphing calculator in those lecture videos. It's an online tool. It's very intuitive. I've got a couple of videos embedded in the lecture videos that kind of show you how to get up and running on how to make a graph with it. It's much easier to use than, say, for example, a TI calculator in terms of the intuition of being able to just use it without really having to know how to use it. It also is a better tool. It makes better graphs. It has more functionality. Sometimes I'll use spreadsheets in a couple of when we investigate limits, we look at Newton's method. I use Google Sheets. You can use Excel. You can use numbers. They all basically are the same. But again, you can look in the technical tools section to see more information about that. This is a GE course here. So if you take this course, if you haven't already satisfied it, completing this course satisfies your Cal Poly Humboldt or CSU general education quantitative reasoning, or just for short area 2 general education. So these are just the learning outcomes associated with that. Here's some about using the text. Like I said, the problems in it are suggested, but they're really a great way to enhance your learning. I suggest you look at them. I've already said several times that this course moves very, very quickly. So I'll kind of end this video. I haven't told you about the grading components. Well, there's just 2 of them. There are the section assignments and the final exam. And those are weighted respectively 70 and 30%. So 70% of your grade will be calculated based on your scores in those section assignments. 30% will be calculated based on your final exam. The section assignments will open basically on Monday of each week, sometimes 2 of them, sometimes 3 of them, and they're open through Sunday of the end of the same week. All right. So you have to complete them during that week. I really encourage you to spread that work over the whole week. Do not be tempted to try to do them all on the last day. It's just really not doable. You want to spread that work over. You leave yourself time to come and ask me questions and Zoom and so on. Um, so once the due date hits, the section assignment will close and you will no longer have access to input things into that assignment. You can review your work for studying purposes, but your score will be final. Because of some flexibility, I do, and this there's a late pass button in each section assignment. You get 5 of them for the entire course. And when you use a late pass, you have to use it before the deadline. If the due date comes and goes, then you will not be able to use a late pass for that assignment. But if you use it during the deadline, it adds 24 hours. So if something comes up some week and you feel like, man, I just need one more day to turn that in, you can do that for up to half of the section assignments. You can do that for 5 of them. Okay. But once the due date passes, you're not allowed to submit any more work. And if you haven't used that late pass before the due date passes, you can't use it. So you have to be kind of stay on top of this. Between June 2nd and July 3rd, your eye is on calculus because this moves fast. If you look away for a few days and come back, you will find that you have fallen behind, and that's not a good thing. Okay, final exam. Final exam is just a series of questions over the whole course. It's also done on My Open Math. So for many aspects, it looks exactly like a section assignment. But unlike a section assignment, when you open it, it's going to start a 2-hour timer. All right, so it's going to become available on July 3rd at 8 a.m. The last section assignment is due the day before, July 2nd. So all of the work in the course is done. July 3rd is just an exam day. At 8 a.m., it becomes available. You don't have to open it at 8 a.m. You can open it anytime you want between 8 a.m. This says 11:59 p.m., but you get a 2-hour limit. So you do not want to open it. I wouldn't recommend doing this, but certainly no later than 10 p.m. on July 3rd, because you'll be shortening the amount of time. Because at 11:59 p.m. on July 3rd, it's going to close, regardless of when you opened it. All right. So I wouldn't push it that late. Find a time that's comfortable in your schedule, sometime in the evening, time of the day when your brain works and is the most focused. Once you sit down and open that thing, it's going to start a 2-hour timer, and then you have 2 hours to put in your answers. In the section assignments, you can try every problem up to 3 times. So if you try a problem and it's not right, you can try it again. You can do that up to 3 times. In the final exam, you only get 2 times, but unlike the section assignments, you will lose 50% of your credit after the first one. So you want to try to kind of work carefully and accurately. The exam's not too long. 2 hours is plenty of time to do it. So I'm testing for accuracy there, right? So if you do use a second attempt, you'll get at most 50% credit. Okay, I've been talking a long time. I'm going to leave the rest of the syllabus to you. You can check out the grade distribution table. It's the standard one. I'll just use all your scores. Your grade book will always be current in Canvas. You'll always know where you stand. And then the bottom of the syllabus is some stuff about learning outcomes, important information, university policies, add drop deadlines, academic honesty. I would definitely check those things out. They're relative to you as a student, and in the course, it's understood that you have read them and understood them. And then some advice that I've already kind of talked about that just sort of, work daily, stay on pace, don't put things off to the last minute, come to me for help, and I think you'll enjoy the course a lot. All right. So that was a ton of information. I don't have any idea how long this video is. It feels like it got pretty long, but I hope you feel like it was useful. Okay, thanks.